Hello and welcome to SatTV Week, the news programme for the international satellite industry. This week, Richard Hooper talks to Daniel Enns of Comtech EF Data about cellular backhaul. James Shortland reports on Gaia, ESA's global space astrometry mission to produce the most precise three-dimensional map of our galaxy. And Trisha Jones has the launch news. But first, here's Carrie-Anne with the news headlines.
Stratos Global has announced the commercial availability of Inmarsat Express Link, its newest managed global broadband service for the maritime industry. Express Link is the latest addition to Stratos' maritime broadband portfolio and offers enhanced Ku-band coverage and bandwidth and leverages the global capabilities of fleet broadband. The system offers the only guaranteed upgrade path to Inmarsat Global Express Ka-band service. Global Express, which is expected to be commercially available in 2013 and will deliver speeds of up to 50 megabits per second. Globecom Systems has been awarded a contract amendment from a multinational organisation for transportable satellite ground terminals, valued at approximately $2.5 million. This contract amendment changes the technical solution for the vehicle supplied under this contract. Globecom previously announced $30 million contracts for the design and development of the system, bringing the combined contract value to approximately $32 million. Paul Knudsen, Vice President of Eastern Atlantic, told SatTV Week that the contract continues to demonstrate the company's sustained ability to provide high-quality communication services.
At the recent Communicasia exhibition held in Singapore, Richard spoke to Daniel Enns of Comtech EF Data, the company's Senior VP of Marketing and Business Strategy, about using satellites for cellular backhaul.
In essence, satellite will more than likely be the means on how we're going to reach the less dense populations that are in the far remote areas. So the question is 3G the right technology? Is 2G? What is the difference? We're already doing a lot of work with satellites, especially for the voice traffic. 3G, of course, is the expectation of also being the broadband solution for the communities that today are perhaps having already voice services. And so why bring Wi-Fi out? Why bring WiMAX out? Why bring 2G out? Why not just 3G broadband for the rural communities? And in many places around the globe, especially in Brazil and other places, it becomes actually a mandatory government-imposed solution to the mobile operators to provide data voice connectivity, which is then deemed broadband, and why not do it over 3G?
But what are the specific challenges for providing satellite backhaul?
The interesting thing is we have always been able to do voice services. Voice is not a problem over satellite as long as I can provide control over jitter and latency. I can do voice services because from the beginning of long distance international interconnect, we've always done that over satellite. So doing voice over satellite is no difficulty the challenge becomes in data services. And specifically how to do that in an economical, correct way. 3G by itself was not designed for satellite, much like 2G was never designed for satellite. It really is designed for fiber and microwave. So making 3G work over satellite is a challenge, especially for the data side, not as much for the voice.
But how do you go about providing the ideal solution for this service?
Then really the main challenge comes on how do I separate the voice from the data so that I can do the right treatment to the data, or what we today consider or talk about much is about 3GGP or the LTE, which is the new standard to come. And I do that on the 3G. I decompose the traffic between voice and data. And if I make that separation, they often call that today as the offload of data in a 3GGP network, then I can start doing things to the data portion of the backhaul differently than the voice to do exactly, specifically the areas such as TCP acceleration, all the very tricks we've done in broadband, so-called in the classic VSAC solutions. We can start doing that by combining, first of all, separating them and then recombining them. But do the treatment correctly for the voice, differently than for the data.
Daniel, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The Launch Authorization Board for the PSLV C-17 GSAT-12 mission, which met on July the 12th at the Satish Dhawan Space Centre, has cleared the launch of PSLV C-17 at 16:48 hours on Friday, July the 15th. The 53-hour countdown commenced at 11:48 on July the 13th. During the countdown, propellant filling operations of the second and fourth stages of the launch vehicle will be carried out. Mandatory checks on the launch vehicle and spacecraft, including the charging of batteries and pressurization of the propellant tanks, will be performed. PSLV C-17 will launch the GSAT-12 satellite into a sub-geosynchronous transfer orbit of 284 km perigee and an apogee of 21,000 km. Now here's Tricia with more launch news.
Arianespace successfully orbited another batch of 6 spacecraft for Globalstar's second-generation satellite network on Wednesday morning on a mission performed with the medium-lift Soyuz launcher from the Baikonur Cosmodrome. The flight was carried out on Arianespace's behalf by its Starsem affiliate, lifting off at 8:27 a.m. local time. Soyuz's Frege upper stage then performed 2 successive firings, followed by the orbital injection of the 6 satellites 1 hour and 38 minutes after liftoff. The flight was the 23rd for Starsem and utilised the Soyuz 2 evolved version of Russia's venerable medium-lift workhorse launcher. Incorporating the enlarged ST payload fairing and an updated digital flight control system, the Soyuz 2 also will be used by Arianespace at the spaceport in French Guiana, operating side by side with its heavyweight Ariane 5 vehicle and the future Vega lightweight launcher. A Proton M Breeze M launch vehicle, together with the KazSat-2 and SES-3 satellites, was delivered to Launch Pad 200 at Baikonur on Wednesday morning. Russian space industry personnel have now started day 1 operations at the launch pad. The launch is contracted by ILS and is scheduled for July the 16th. On July the 11th, China launched its second data relay satellite from Shenzhen Satellite Launch Center using a Long March 3C rocket. China now has 2 data relay satellites in orbit, which will support China's first planned space docking of Tiangong-1 and Shenzhou-8 later this year.
Astrometry, the branch of astronomy that relates to precise measurements and explanations of the positions and movements of stars and other celestial bodies, is the focus of ESA's Gaia project that will conduct a census of 1,000 million stars in our galaxy when it is launched in 2012. James has the story.
The Gaia project will monitor each of its target stars in our galaxy about 70 times over a 5-year period. Its goal is to make the largest, most precise 3-dimensional map of our galaxy by surveying an unprecedented number of stars, more than 1,000 million. It will precisely chart their positions, distances, movements and changes in brightness. Gaia's measurements will be so accurate that, if it were on Earth, it could measure the thumbnail of a person on the Moon. The project is expected to discover hundreds of thousands of new celestial objects, such as extrasolar planets and failed stars called brown dwarfs. Within our own solar system, Gaia should also observe hundreds of thousands of asteroids. The spacecraft, which will be launched in 2012 on a Soyuz 3Gar rocket from Sinemary, part of Europe's spaceport in French Guiana, is currently in its manufacturing and test phase. EADS Astrium SAS in Toulouse is the prime contractor. Gaia will map the stars from its orbit around the second Lagrangian point, L2. This special location, 1.5 million kilometres further from the Sun than Earth, keeps pace with Earth's yearly revolution around the Sun, and thus maintains the positions of the Sun, Earth and spacecraft on a single line. This choice minimises any obstructions caused by the Sun and Earth falling within Gaia's fields of view.
The final mission of Atlantis has been extended by 1 day. The spacecraft will now land in Florida on July the 21st. The decision was made by mission management in order to provide the crew with more time for cargo logistics. Atlantis is currently docked to the ISS, having brought 5 tons of food, clothes and equipment to the space outpost. It will bring the broken cooling system pump back to Earth. ISS crew members Ron Garan and Michael Fossum performed the last spacewalk of the shuttle era on Tuesday, which lasted about 6.5 hours. And now here's Carrie-Anne with more news.
Eutelsat Communications has signed a distribution contract for the two-way broadband service between its SkyLogic subsidiary and Eurosat Ukraine. Eurosat Ukraine is an affiliate of Altagroski, a leading provider of satellite-delivered telecom services in Russia and CIS countries. The new contract covers distribution to consumers in the Ukraine of the two-way new generation satellite broadband service, which is delivered via Eutelsat's KA-SAT satellite, which went into full commercial service in May. Solaris Mobile, the Dublin-based pioneer of European next-generation mobile communications networks, has reached an agreement to launch an initial phase package of radio services to listeners across Italy. The rollout will commence in October with the deployment of a hybrid satellite and terrestrial network in Milan. Solaris Mobile is partnering with major Italian network operators for the provision of the terrestrial transmission network. Following the successful implementation of the initial phase, it is envisaged that a full commercial launch may take place in 2012, where Solaris Mobile plans to extend the hybrid network across the whole of Italy. Italy enjoys the largest number of radio channels within the EU, and through this agreement, Italians will be able to access dozens of new digital radio channels broadcasting music, news, entertainment and sports in their original format, with continuity of reception across the entire country. The high-quality digital audio signal will also be complemented with new visual elements, delivering sophisticated media services such as programme information and traffic-related data.
And finally, NASA's Juno spacecraft is scheduled to launch aboard a United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket from Pad 41C at the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station on August the 5th. The solar-powered spacecraft will orbit Jupiter's poles 33 times to find out more about the gas giant's origins, structure, atmosphere and magnetosphere, and investigate the existence of a solid planetary core. Juno's mission is part of the New Frontiers program managed at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center. Lockheed Martin Space Systems, Denver, built the spacecraft. The primary launch period is 22 days long. That's all for this week. Thank you for watching.